Good day and welcome to Customer Effects Webinars. My name is Dale Richter and today we'll be talking about the SalesLogix web client, changing options for the calendar and activities. We've had a couple different webinars on the options screens, and this one is going to point specifically at the calendar tab and the activities tab in those options. Let me quickly switch over here to my web client. And currently we're looking at the contacts list view, and in the upper right hand corner of the screen I'm going to go and click on options. And in here we have the several different tabs across the top of the screen, and as I said, in this webinar we're going to specifically look at the activities and alarms and the calendar tab here. So starting out looking at the activities and alarms, several different options in here. On the upper right hand side we have show activities for, and in here we can choose which of the records we want to be able to see when we're looking at our activities. Now the people that are in here, the users that are in here, is all based on the security that's already been set up in the administrator. So if you don't have users listed here, it's because you have not been given access to them in the administrator. But for the people who are all showing up here, the users are showing up here, you can choose to view them. So holding down my control key, I can choose to see several different people in my activity list automatically. So I'll just choose a couple of them there so you can see this in just a moment. And then we'll move down to the next option here, the default view. So when we go into our activities, down the left-hand side of the screen here in the web client, what do we want our default view to be? Do we want it to be the literature, the events, confirmations, or all the open activities? I'm just going to leave mine set at all open activities. Time frame. Here again, when we're looking at activities, what time frame do you want your default to be? If you want the current week, you could set it to current week here. I only ask that you be aware of this setting once you set it, because often I've heard of people scheduling activities and then not knowing why they're not showing up on their activity list because they're looking at a different time frame. So until you're used to this setting, I would recommend using the all time frame. Then we have default follow-up activity. Right now this is set to none. We can choose phone call, meeting, or to-do. I'm going to choose phone call here. Now default follow-up activity. So when you have a follow-up activity, what is that follow-up activity normally? Is it a phone call, meeting, or to-do? And you can choose one of those three. So if you're always following up, and when you follow up it's usually a phone call, I would just mark it as phone call here. Also, when you follow up, do you want to carry over the notes or not? And I would always mark that as yes. And carrying over attachments. Now that one I probably would set to no, because more than likely you're not going to carry over your attachments from one activity to the next. The next setting here is the alarm default. Lead time. So here we can set up a default lead time for our alarms. So if we want to always have our alarms to be 30 minutes in advance of our activities, we can just mark this as 30 minutes, or we could set it at 1 hour or 1 day, whatever we prefer. That's just the default. We're also able to change them on each one of our activities. Okay, so let's move to the upper right hand side of the screen where it says reminder options. Do we want to display activity reminders? Yes or no? So if we choose no, those reminders will not pop up on our screen. Same thing for alarms. Do we want them to pop up or not? And display confirmations. So confirmations is if somebody else schedules us for an activity, that will send us a confirmation. And do we want to display them or not? And then display past due activities. In the reminder, when it comes up, do you want to see past due activities? Yes or no. If you know you have past due activities, you may want to set this as no. But otherwise, I would probably set this as yes, so you can at least move those activities forward into the appropriate time frame. Okay, So now before we move over to the calendar tab, let's go look at our activities. Down the left-hand side of the screen, I'm just going to click on the activities tab here. So in here, over in the filters, now you'll see once I save those options that under user, those users are set by default in my filters. I could clear them by using the clear all or by clearing each one individually. But by clearing all, it would wipe all those options out there. And you notice I had it set on the all open tab, so when we went into activities, it automatically brought me to the all open tab. And we have our other tabs here of literature, events, and confirmations. So let's go back now. I'm going to go back to options again in the upper right hand corner. And we're going to switch over now to the calendar tab and look at the calendar options in here. Not a lot of options in here, but we'll take a quick look at them. The upper left hand side here, we have calendar options. The default calendar view, fairly obvious. We can either choose day, week, or month to be our default view. I'm just going to set mine at day. And then show history on the calendar. So once you complete activities, do you want them to show up on the calendar or not? And I'm just going to leave mine set as yes. So that even though I complete an activity, I'll still be able to see that I completed it right on my calendar. In the upper right hand side then, we've got View Calendar For. And again here, we can set the different users. So if we want to view the calendar for another user, we can set this here and then go out and see the calendar. We can only set this to one person at a time. Whereas the activities, remember, we could see several persons' activities at one time. Show activities, show on activities rather. So it means when you're looking at the calendar, do you just want to see the contact name on your activity, the account name, or do you want to see contact/account, or vice versa, account/contact? So it's just what you want to view on your specific activities on the calendar. I would probably choose account/contact. So it shows me both the account name and the contact name right on my calendar activity. My day's start and stop time, we can change that. 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. shows me the hours that I work. And then the default interval. So if you schedule your meetings in 15-minute intervals, you can set it at 15, 30, or 60. And then lastly, the default activity type. If we set it as none when we're scheduling on the calendar, if we set it as none, then it will ask us if we want to schedule a phone call, meeting, or to-do. If we set one of these, it will automatically pull up that type of activity dialog box. So I'm just going to leave mine as none. So if I go to try to schedule something on the calendar, it will ask me what I want to schedule. We want to make sure to save those options again in the upper right hand corner by clicking on the save icon. And then we'll go look at a couple of these over on the calendar itself. So I'm going to just switch over here to calendar on the left hand side. Here's our calendar view. And we're looking at the day view as we set up in our options. We're looking at the administrator's calendar. That's the one I chose in there. So again, to access your options in the upper right hand corner, you just click on options here. We set up our calendar options in this webinar and our activities and alarms. So this has been the SalesLogix web client, changing options for the calendar and activities. I want to thank you all for joining me today, and have a great day.